Hi, everyone. This is Rita Desnoyers-Garcia of Becoming Awake and the Calm Mom Alliance. I work with stressed out professional moms who just want harmony in their home and to rock their business, but really struggle with trying to control everything and trying to please everyone. And I help them get way beyond that. And I started a series called Women Helping Women. And I have our next guest that I'm really excited about, Meggie Houle, and I'm going to read her bio to everyone. So Meggie Houle helps people struggling with morale and decreased productivity to tap into higher gear with their productivity. Excuse me. She's the author of Finish What You Start, and I love the name of that book. She's a hypnotherapist and a productivity expert. Meggie empowers audiences to actively gain control of their success. And using her experience in aviation and her own spinal cord injury as a backdrop, she gets audiences to build a flight plan for success, which is really amazing. So welcome, Meggie.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. So tell me your story. I mean, you mentioned spinal cord injury. You mentioned aviation. What got you into what you're doing now?
Yes. So I spent about a decade in aviation, and during that time, there was a lot of different things that I was doing. I started paragliding, and I was working as a flight dispatcher doing flight planning for pilots. And and that was something I've been doing for a long time. So which we're going to get maybe a little bit more into later, but how we really plan every flight to go from plan A to plan B. So basically what it is pilots do not plan their own flight plan. They have someone that is doing that for them. And so when they receive those flight plans, that's what they fly. But then there's always a systematic approach that works with that, because the flight plans is always made before the flight takeoff. And so how I brought that into my life is and with productivity is to how we start things and be productive even before we even start doing something, to really make sure we finish and accomplish something. And so during that time that I was working doing that, I picked up paragliding. And paragliding is kind of like a piece of foil, basically, that you fly. And I had been doing that for a few years. And I got into an accident that I broke my back. It was an unstable fracture. They had to remove the vertebrae. And it's basically was like falling from a third floor of a hotel.
Wow.
And I landed and I survived. But at that moment, my body wasn't cooperating with what my mind wanted to do, with how I used to do things, how I used to be a go-getter, an overachiever, perfectionist, all the things that I was using, that I was doing and identifying with. Now I didn't have the body that could follow the pace and the rhythm that I had. And I had to reinvent myself a different way and even work through a lot of the PTSD from that accident, which led me, it's like opening a Pandora box, because then it's linked to a lot of other things that I had to work through. And that led me into that journey to starting my own hypnotherapy practice as a hypnotherapist, because I just found when I started moving through the blocks and how much there was held on so many things in my subconscious mind that had started before that accident, right? So nothing was new. How I was feeling during the accident, there was a lot of shame and a lot of blocks that as I worked through them and got my certification as a hypnotherapist to help others, because I realized how much I didn't have a knowledge of all that, and how much there was work and help I could give to others and wanted to be of service. So So that led me to do that. And the more I did that and help people, I started to see a pattern, because I was really passionate about how to help people balance their life, still being productive, in doing things, but in a way that will actually make them fulfilled and happy. So many times I've had, in a lot of time, a woman that will sit in my chair and be like, I have the jobs, I have the money, I have the house, I have the partner, I have everything. Like, shouldn't I be happy and satisfied with my life? Like, I'm not. And they don't understand what if they do all the things, they still can't feel this fulfillment, this accomplishment, and they're always looking for the next thing to do and the next thing to add, and they never get there. So that's why I was really passionate about to help them, because I understand that, because that's where I was before the accident and all the work I had to do. And that led me last year, which I published my book, Finish What You Start, because I realized that was something that I really saw my client change from the moment they sat in my chair in just a few weeks. And we just had to find that block, and then their perception and their life and their belief will change so much. And then they will be like, physically, like there wouldn't be any change really, but all of those changes happen inside, and they could feel like this peace that they have been searching for all their life. So this is how really I got where I am right now.
Yeah. There's so many things I want to say about that. First, I love, and I hear this story over and over again. People have trauma, tragedy, upset, something really big happens in their life. And instead of becoming bitter, which would be easy, or to just go, screw it, don't want to deal with anyone else, I'm just here for me, they like transcend that and become someone who wants to help everyone. It just, that human story always is miraculous to me when I hear that. So I'm glad there's like another person who's able to do that. It's just, yay, welcome to Team Humanity. The other thing I want to say is that I've had so many clients that sound just like your clients. They have it all on paper, but inside they are not feeling it. They're not feeling happy at all. They're feeling like something's missing. They're kind of like, is that all there is? I don't get it. I followed all the rules. I did all the things I was supposed to. And here I am, and I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? So I totally get that. And it sounds like, based on the title of your book, Finish What You Start, is that a huge part of this whole thing? Is that people do stuff and they just don't finish it, and that makes them feel unsatisfied and lack of purpose? And is that a big part of it, or what inspired the book?
Mm-hmm. So when I wrote the book, I wanted to just share everything and how to help people. And then what I actually did is just look at how I help people and what I did with them. And Finish What You Start, it's also like, it's so on so many levels, so many things. For some people, it's even trying to improve their relationship, or wanting to take a project. They have a project, something they're working towards, that they like, along the way, they stop because they start having, all these other things and all those self-doubt, or they have a project trying to do even, it's quite happen quite a lot, that people, like, they always do have 10 course going on. They have like, they bought all those books and all those online courses and all that, trying to wanting to do them, and then find themselves that if you ask anyone to do a full list of all the things that they know they have to go and do right now, just the fact that it's on their mind that they know they have to be done, it's like they're not getting it done in that way, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have those things that we're like, oh, well, I should do this, and I should do this, I should do this. And then why are we not going and finishing them? How are we structuring ourselves to do that? Or And so there's so many elements that goes in play on how, like, first of all, what are we taking on? How much are we taking on? What are the reasons we're taking this on? And then in that process is when there's something that we know we need to get done and we want to get it done, what is coming in the way of us doing that? And I had clients that came to me like, hey, it's like I'm working my full-time job and I want to be a coach. I have this online course and I know I have it. I need to do it. And that's what I want to do, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And I know if I don't do it, then I'm not going to be able to support my children. I'm not going to be doing a career that I love. I'm not going to be, be what I really want to do. But somehow there are all those other things that are coming in the way that that person couldn't put their mind into how to do something that seemed so simple, and also being like, how is everyone doing it? And I can't do it. and so it's something that person has started. And then, so we really got into, because I think everyone can have a to-do list, and I can give it a to-do list and how to do something to everyone and be like, okay, here you go. This is what you need to do to get this course done. The thing is, any kind of list of what to do something is not really helping people to do more of the things they need to do. Is we have to think the other ways, like, what are the things that are stopping you from doing it? Because they are blocks coming in the way. And for that person, we established some structure, but then we ended up removing a lot of the belief that how much that person had to do, which then ended up having that person doing more of what needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things like that, but then we don't really realize how we actually doing our own self-sabotage by how we want to finish things. So in my book, I really, and Finish When You Start, really share some of those blocks and how people can actually, as they read the book, like identify those blocks, and that I've seen over and over again. So when anything they want to start, now they know how to finish it, because they understand exactly how they can do that and get it to completion.
Yeah. And I can attest that completion of a project feels so good. It feels so good. Although sometimes there's anxiety in finishing it. Like, who will I be and what will I complain about if I finish this and it's not an issue anymore? Does that come up for people as an obstacle?
Yeah, so I do work with people with ADHD a lot. And so sometimes one of those behaviors that arise for a lot of people, but even more for those individual is that they can't do something until the deadline. Like, they push everything to the deadline. And I was talking to one of my clients, and she told me, she's like, even though I know, like, if I do it a week before and I finish it a week before, she's not really let it go. She's not letting it go. In her mind, it's still there in her mind, even though she knows she finished it. Like, how could she improve it? Maybe now that it's done, how can she improve it? Or how can she? And so she actually, it's more stressful for her to actually finish it in advance, because it's more work. Because then she's not only finishing, to do all the work to finish it, but then she's going to spend a full week wandering and doing more work and doubting herself and needing all that. So it's actually like, it's how, and then that's all come with some kind of mindset around that. And then what I like to call the finisher mindset, how we get there to know, like, finish something and be done with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to work with a lovely woman who did, she wrote grants for the nonprofit that I worked in, and she did tremendous work, but she would not write that grant until the day before it was due every single time. And she would spend a lot of time talking to people and what seemed to me like wasting time, but actually for her, it was research and stuff. But it would be 5 o'clock the night before and she'd start to write. And I'd be like, I don't know how she does that. But she'd always get it done. And I talked to her about it. And she said, I know it seems like I'm wasting time, but the whole time I'm preparing to write that. And I just learned over the years, that's what works for me. It may not work for anyone. For you, it would be bonkers. But for me, it works really well. And she always got it done. So I was just like, all right, that's the way you do it.
Yeah. How much do we think we have to fit in that, how everyone else is operating, right?
Right.
And that's actually coming in a block to for ourselves, because if
Yeah.
we're not, if we're not doing how we work, then we're not going to get anything done. So that's why I'm like, I'm not a believer of like the one way. And then I've struggled a little with ADHD before, and I don't struggle with the symptoms anymore of that. But so I think my way of thinking and doing things is quite different maybe than someone who's more neurotypical. So I'm never approaching people and be like, okay, this is exactly how you have to do it, but more like it's just in a team, and like this is the team we're working on, and how is that working for you?
Yeah. It's fascinating how different people have different ways. And as soon as you figure out your way that works for you, then you're great. It's just when you've been taught that's the wrong way, then you're like a fish trying to climb a tree. You just kind of feel like, what's wrong with me, but I can't climb this tree. Well, you're not supposed to climb the tree. You're supposed to be in the water. Then you're golden. Mm-hmm. So, I obviously work with stressed out professional moms. Any tips you could give this audience that would be just something quick that you think would be really helpful to them?
So one thing, so I can go quickly through the flight plan for success and how are those going, because I think this is important, and sometimes we forget some of the basic that we're doing. So when we build a flight plan for success, the first thing, even if a flight plan, is we identify the maintenance of the aircraft and the crew rest, because a pilot cannot take off if they haven't had 8 hours of sleep. And a lot of time we start things in the day without even having those minimum requirement to be operating that day, which is like, how are you doing your vehicle that you're going to be operating today and doing all the things? Like, what is required? Like, what is the system? Have you done a checkup on yourself today on how you're doing and what is realistic? Like, so if you are feeling sick or something is going on, like, you maybe not going to be operating the same way you're going to be you were operating last week. And so that's the first step, and it's so crucial because the first step can impact all the ways that we're trying to do everything in our day. And then after that, I have the step number 2, which I call the logistic, which is what is a destination, and that's where we can become clear. Oh, what are we trying to accomplish with this? Like, in what time that we need to accomplish that with, because a lot of time, just the lack of clarity means that we can't get that, because we can't, our mind can't establish how we're getting there, but because we don't know where we're trying to get. And so to just start with that, with those two, like getting really clear on that. And in 3, I have something that I call airways, which is just the boundaries. Like, when an aircraft, for example, go on this route to a different destination, like, they have to follow like the airways, because there are other aircraft coming at different altitude. And I tell people, whether you're trying to get there and accomplish something, what are also the boundaries you're establishing for yourself? Like, what do you need to be successful? What do you need to remove? What do you need to implement for you to stay on track to get there? And then after that, it's the critical point, which is when you're en route, then are you doing self-assessment? So just simple, like throughout the day when you're doing things, are you also doing the self-assessment all the time? And it is so important as well, because sometimes there are times that if we don't stop, or we take a break, we have less chance to make it to destination than if we actually did that. So those self-assessment are critical point. And I end up always with, once we know all that and we establish that, that's at the end that we like can wonder and ask ourselves, do I really need to take this flight? Or is that actually something that I'm trying to do that like I realized like it has no purpose? Like I'm doing that and maybe I need to cancel that. So just doing that quickly with everything that we're trying to do in our day-to-day will save a lot of time. Because like, and then it's a practice, because once you start doing that, the more you do that, like the less time you waste in doing the things that are less meaningful, but also you can get more accomplished in your day.
Yeah. I think like every person, if not every woman, needs to hear what you have to say. So if people want to know more, how can they connect with you? And are you offering anything particularly now or at any point that you'd like to talk about?
So they can get my book on finishwhatyourstartbook.com, and they could get the PDF copy for free. So I think it's just such a great tool for people, and my contribution to this world in some ways. And what I do, I actually help people establishing all those that we talk about, like, but hand in hand, and having this. I help people to get successful in a way that they can get this finisher mindset, and really establishing and getting clear with them in all those aspects of their life. Because what I always say to the people I work with is like, I want something that it becomes who they are as well. Like when you have this and implement this and understand all those layers, you also, it becomes, you always finish everything. So it's more than just a to-do list. That's what I like to say, but it's like a way of being, and you become just the way that you can finish things and be happy with your life and love your life doing it.
Yeah. And, it reminds me of Wayne Dyer talking about don't die with the music still in you. In other words, don't leave things unfinished that you regret, which is exactly what you're talking about. When you become like a finishing goddess, then there's such a less chance of you coming to the end of your life going, oh, I wish I would have. It would be like, I did it all. I did it all. So, I love this conversation. Any last things that you want to say before we finish this interview?
And I think you work a lot with professional moms, and I think it's just also there's another aspect in this, just having the children around, and I think it's and a lot of the moms sometimes, that's a big, like it takes a big piece of also of the mind, because you're always thinking about your children. And so I think it's just important to also have a lot of self-compassion. And then, like, the day that anyone like take a 5-minute break to sit on the couch to do nothing can be one of the biggest accomplishments they've ever done. And it can take work to get there, because I've worked with people that's like, we had to get worked for her to sit on the couch for 5 minutes without thinking she had to go do the dishes, but that she could actually sit and do nothing. And for 5 minutes.
I know. I totally know. I used to be that person. Yeah. It was like a big, because there's all this core belief stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't do that. It's not allowed. Who would I be if I did that? Oh my God. Yeah. Such an important message. So Meggie, thank you so much for coming. And everyone, you got to get this book. You said it's a free PDF. And if they want to buy the printed copy, there's a place to buy that as well?
Yeah, they can buy on Amazon. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Meggie Houle, thank you so much for coming today. And I hope to talk to you soon again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Rita, for having me.
You're welcome.